All right, guys, as promised, this is part 2 of the recording that I did with Jay. Talk Dragon Ball podcast or whatever. I call it a podcast because it's not like a regular video. It's just us talking Dragon Ball. And we're going to continue to talk about how we got into the show, what we love about the show, what makes it so great. Some real in-depth stuff here. Hope you enjoy. Subscribe, comment, spread the word. I want to hit 1,000 subscribers before the end of April. I don't know if I'm going to do it, but I'm trying. So let's go ahead and get to it. I'm going to pick up right where we left off.
Well, the whole idea, I guess, there's a lot of things, but the whole things like people not being able to die because they can be wished back with the Dragon Balls, people having these superpowers like being able to blow planets, even though it's a filler scene. One of my most memorable scenes from watching it on TV is when Vegeta gets out of his pod just when they left planet Alia. And they thank Vegeta and Nappa, and he just blows up the planet with his two fingers, and I'm like, man, that is epic, and like that sort of stuff is just so epic to me, and I liked Goku. Like, do not get me wrong, I started liking all the other characters, and I grew relationships with all the characters, and that's the other thing. When the more of the show you watch, you start. Doesn't matter what dub you watch, and debatable, whichever one you like, that's your opinion. The show is good no matter what you're watching it. Let's just say that. You grow your relationship. That's why people fight for the one they've seen the first. Like, that's why people always say this dub's the best, because that's the one they saw first, because they grew the relationship with that character, those characters in that language with that music playing. That's why they'll always fight for that. It's a bit different for me because, like I said, I'm matured as a fan, and I actually can see as an anime fan that the version I like more for these reasons.
Well, just to add to what you're saying real quick, and I was very, very much an elitist. I actually almost got into a fight. This is legit. Summer School 99, I almost got into a fight with this kid because he said the English version was better, bro. Like, and this is the bad dub with the editing. Well, it wasn't that bad, but I now I'm a grown man. It's different, but I almost got into a fist fight over Dragon Ball once. And that says something. But remember, don't judge me, folks. This is me when I was a teenager, okay? I'm sorry. I would not do this now. Because now as a grown man, bro, I understand some people love the Bruce Falconer music. You said that you used to like it and now you don't like it anymore. Some people love Kai. Some people love the original dub. Some people love the Ocean dub. I am now in a place in my life where it's all Dragon Ball. And I'm very happy with the community. Like, whether it be Kanzenshu, whether it be Saiyan Island, whether it be the YouTube community with all these guys, because we're all really united now, and I really like that. Like, the whole elitist and, the battle between... It's kind of like how in hip-hop... Just real quick, I'll get this point out. In hip-hop, for a long time, in rap music, there was always commercial versus underground. Well, now with the internet's changed the world in ways that history cannot even explain or even understand, because now there is no commercial and underground. Now everybody has a voice. YouTube, people get discovered on YouTube, bro. Like, and then also commercial rap is like different now, like very different than it was like even 5 years ago, right? So now, so my whole point is that, like, with Dragon Ball, if somebody tells me they like the Bruce Falconer score more, that kind of stuff, like, doesn't bother me anymore like it used to. Like, I'm like, okay, well, that's cool. We can talk about how awesome Dragon Ball is either way. Now, one thing I will say, though, is, and we all love Dragon Ball, bro. That's the thing, we all love it. So it doesn't matter what version. It's the same shit. But the only thing that kind of still irritates me, and it's my opinion, is when people say, I can't stand the Japanese version because Goku sounds like a girl. Well, I can't stand the dub because Frieza sounds like a girl, even like an old woman. Yeah, so that's even worse.
There's always going to be arguments for each side.
But I just think people don't understand. Okay,
no, that's it.
Here's the thing. Masako Nozawa voiced Goku as a kid. When Goku became a man in Dragon Ball, they kept Nozawa because, number one, she was very talented, and number two, she is the voice of Goku for infinity. So, again, that's why they did it. It's just like how on The Simpsons, when they had those episodes in the future, and they have Bart Simpson, it's Nancy Cartwright doing Bart's voice, but deeper. It's the same shit. Complain about both. That's the only thing that kind of bugs me. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
And let me tell this to people who are fans of any dub out there, and this is some point that we both brought up the other night, and it's very valid, and it's probably true. When Masako Nozawa passes away, and let's
Oh
hope
man, I
she's
don't even
got,
want to think about
when
that.
yeah, we don't want to think about it, but eventually, as we know, people pass away. When she does, and as far as a lot of the fans are concerned, Dragon Ball Z will die with her. Reason being is because no one can replace Goku, not only in the Japanese fans' eyes, but in the eyes of many of the fans around the world. So, we're lucky for the stuff we're getting right now, and that's why we should be very thankful for Fukkatsu no F and Battle of Gods, because we're getting more Dragon Ball Z from the people that make it in Japan, and a lot of people forget that it comes from Japan. I can't stand countries that take it and go, our dub's the best, because you got to respect the source material, and that's my opinion on it, and that's why I like Kai best, because I like listening to the English voice cast, but the English voice cast has 15 years more experience, and they respect the source material. So Chris Sabat now and Kai are much better.
Yeah, all those guys are. Now, one thing I forgot to tell you, a couple of other side notes is, real quick, I want to get your thoughts on this too, about like something else that happened. So, in the summer of '99 is when we finally heard Funimation has acquired the rights to season 3 of Dragon Ball Z. I think it was actually in the spring of '99. Holy shit, we're gonna get the Frieza saga finally. Like, that was a big deal.
Yeah.
It was a huge deal. So, I remember Cartoon Network had that awesome, DBZ Second Coming. I gotta put over how awesome Cartoon Network is. And those of you international folks, including yourself, who have not seen the promotional materials for Dragon Ball Z that Cartoon Network put together, Cartoon Network is so awesome at hyping people up. And they showed a clip of like Raccoon, and then they showed the TV turning off. Like, that was it. And then all of a sudden the screen, it says, get ready for the second coming, and they play this fucking song, dun, 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 and you're seeing these clips of like Goku fighting Captain Ginyu and shit, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my god, we've waited. And it's funny because it was only about a year, but it felt, and those of you who were around back then know what I'm talking about. From the Raccoon thing to Frieza, it was only about 3 years total, 1 year on Cartoon Network. It felt like 5, 10, 15 years we were waiting for this shit, bro. And you're seeing it, and you're like, oh my god, it's here. Well, anyways, so there was this kid who had got a copy of Ginyu Assault, which was the first VHS tape. And I remember I was so excited, bro. Brought it home, put it in my VCR, and the voices are different. And I'm like, huh. It's almost like they're trying to sound like the old voice actors. Remember, we didn't know they changed the staff. I didn't know any of that shit. You know what I'm talking about? So
yeah.
I put the tape in, right, and this is the Bruce Falconer, the early Bruce Falconer, and I remember I actually kind of liked that original Bruce Falconer score. The thing that ruined Bruce Falconer for me was a lot of the scores in the Cell Saga, which we talked about a couple nights ago off air. Ooh-dee doo 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 every 2 seconds.
Very, very techno-y.
Oh, it was horrible. But I actually kind of dug it. Like, I dug it, but you know what it was? It was just me loving the fact that I'm seeing more Dragon Ball. Because you gotta understand, even though I was bootlegging the show, right, I had never seen the Ginyu episodes because those were also very hard to find. Those of you who were around back then, you could bootleg the Frieza Saga, the Android Saga, the Imperfect Cell, the Perfect Cell, the Cell Game, the Buu Saga. But for some reason, those Ginyu episodes were not easy to find. They weren't. So I was excited. There was this kid who I went to summer school with, and he was just super thuggish. He had the gold teeth, tattoos. This is a 10th grader with tattoos. What does that tell you, bro? And right? And he had the Frieza transformation tape. And I was like, bro, like, please let me borrow that. I didn't even know this guy. So I let him borrow, I forgot what I let him borrow. I think it was the Cooler Movies, or maybe it was another tape. And I watched that. And then you remember, back then when you're collecting tapes, it's out of order. You're never seeing this shit in order, bro. So I'm watching like 4 tapes ahead of the Ginyu, and I'm like, what is going on? I'm trying to piece it all together. And it's such a, what's weird, bro? Like, that whole era is so different because you couldn't watch it from start to finish. Can you imagine if, like, one of the shows that are popping on, like Walking Dead or whatever, you can't watch it in order? Like, people couldn't even stand for it. But back then you could, because that's how the world was, and Dragon Ball was so awesome that we didn't care if we're missing episodes. Any Dragon Ball will do,
Exactly, yeah, no, that's it. That's how it hooks you in, man. That's how it gets you. Yeah.
So yeah, and that was the other question I was going to ask you. Like what, a little bit more about what you were saying that you that kind of hooked you about the show. I mean, do you have any other thoughts on that or no?
The characters, like I was saying earlier, you grow your own relationships with each of the characters, and you choose which ones are your favorites, which ones you don't like, and that's okay. Whichever one's your favorite, whichever ones aren't your favorite, it doesn't matter. Everyone's different. Yeah, and every character, to a degree, gets their moments to shine in the show, and you really appreciate those moments more than others. So everyone has different parts of the show they like, and I like my favorite parts of the show. You'll have different parts of the show that you like compared to me. Like, everyone has different favorite parts of the show. So it's the interactions and the relationships you develop with the characters as you watch it. Even though it's funny because it's a show, it's not a show where the characters interact with the audience. It's not at all. But you feel like you're there with them. You're fighting with them in a way, and you just grow that bond with the characters. And you want them to, like, I remember when Vegeta started fighting Frieza on Namek, and he was claiming that he was a Super Saiyan and he was going to take on Final Form Frieza. I wanted him so bad to smash Frieza, and it made me so sad to see Frieza beating Vegeta to the point where he just brought Vegeta to tears. That almost brought me to tears as a kid. Man, you grow these special bonds with the characters, and
if you pay your $10 in the summer, bro, you'll get to see that.
Yeah, that's it. I'll get my payback. Yeah, that's right. See, in a way, that's my payback because he's my favorite. Like, he's not just my favorite character. I'm not saying that selfishly, but for a lot of people, that's his favorite. That's their favorite character. That's their moment in the movie. That's what they go to see. You know what I mean? So that's what I mean. It's just it sucks everyone in for different reasons. My reasons is because of the different interactions. Everyone who watches it and everyone I've gotten into Dragon Ball, they all sit down and they all have favorite characters, like I have one friend whose favorite character is Gohan. I have another friend whose favorite character is Goku. I have another friend whose favorite character is Vegeta. I have one friend whose favorite character is Piccolo. Everyone gets their own favorite characters.
You're right.
And it's just there's so many universally appealing things about Dragon Ball Z. The main theme to the show, in my opinion, is redemption. Like, Goku is this guy and he's got such a loving nature, and anyone he comes across, he either changes them, like unintentionally through love. He changes. They don't want to be changed, and that's why Vegeta is one of my favorite characters. Because
of the fact that he's very, very courageous. I've always noticed that. Like Beerus, Beerus was impressed by him in the recent film. Not because Goku bought him ice cream or none of that kind of shit, or Goku was even that nice to him. He was just impressed at the fact that this guy has balls. That's the way I've always seen it. But then you've got villains like Frieza who are irredeemable, and I said, and I think we talked about this. People were saying that in FUKKATSU no F, Frieza might be good. Never, bro. That character should never be a good guy. Never, ever, 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 ever. Because he has no redeeming qualities.
That's it. Yeah, but that's one of the reasons Vegeta's my favorite character is you love Vegeta as a badass, angry guy at the start of the series. But to be honest with you, I like Vegeta more now, even though he's more like Goku now. And a lot of people say Vegeta's not like Goku. He's not, but he's pure-hearted. How would you say that? In Battle of Gods, he couldn't have taken part of the ceremony unless he was pure-hearted. He's good. He would do anything for his family. He would do anything for the people of Earth if he had to. So,
and even before Battle of Gods, when they resurrected him in the Buu Saga and his halo disappeared, and then Goku was like, "Wow, you mean we wish for everybody good to come back to life, and you came back to life? So that means that the dragon." And again, this is kind of a thing where you wonder if there actually is like a god, like a biblical god in Dragon Ball above Beerus. That being or that energy or that life force thought that Vegeta had redeemed himself, which some people don't like that. And I get it, but when he sacrificed himself, that was, one thing I will give the dub credit for is I think that episode was called Atonement or Vegeta's Atonement.
Final Atonement, it was called.
Final Atonement, yeah, and that's a big word for a lot of people, but atonement pretty much means that you are making it's something that people did back in the day. You make a sacrifice for God to make up for your sins. That's what an atonement is, and that's what he did. Yeah. So in a way, when he killed himself against Buu, that was him basically trying to get forgiveness in a weird way from whoever the spiritual energy is that controls Dragon Ball, which we never really talked about if that even exists, but hypothetically.
And that is my favorite part of the series to date is Piccolo tells him, he says to Piccolo, well, I get to meet that clown Kakarot in the other world, and Piccolo says, I'm not going to lie to you. the truth's not going to be easy for you to hear, but you're not going to get the same privileges that Goku got. But he goes ahead and he does it anyway because he doesn't care.
That's
you know
right,
what I mean?
which was part of the atonement.
Yeah. And you even see him. You even see him in the show. You'll know what I'm talking about, dude, because you've watched the show just as many times as I have. When Piccolo is about to tell him the truth, he flinches. You see his eye moves because he flinches.
Yeah.
Yeah. He knows that he's about to be told news he doesn't want to be told, but he just does it anyway. And that's such a strong moment for me. And everyone will have those moments for their favorite characters. So that's why it's my favorite show, because it's so universally appealing because it has so many different aspects to it for so many different people.
And you were talking about the themes of the show, and I'll probably do a video on this later on, but one thing I do love about Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, well, mostly the Z portion, because Dragon Ball was a little bit different as far as how it's structured, but it still kind of exists there, is that in Dragon Ball Z, every arc, the Vegeta arc, the Frieza arc, the Cell arc, the Buu arc, every arc has its own sub-themes. Like, every arc has its own tone, its own message. Because, when you watch the Frieza arc, the story that's being told there is about this, being who is clearly spoiled. We're talking about Frieza here. He's he knows that he's the strongest thing in the universe, but he also, the whole thing about the Frieza arc is fear. Like, he kills all of Goku and Vegeta's race, wipes out the planet, all because of a fear that he had of a prophecy that there's no validation for at all. It's just a fairy tale, and it really wasn't a fairy tale, right? But there's little moments, and I don't know if they captured this in the dub, but there's a moment where Frieza's in his, talking to Zarbon, I think it was, and he's like, Super Saiyan, and he's like, there's no such thing. It's almost like he's telling himself, like, like when you're superstitious and that whole thing about a black cat, and you're like telling yourself, nah, come on.
Yeah.
Like that kind of stuff, bro, that build up. And then it turns out that it's Goku, which, did make sense in a way because of the harsh training he went through. And, the whole theme of it, of the first two arcs is, how important training is. And then the Cell arc, and I'm going to save this for the video I'm going to do, but I think the Cell arc has the best story-driven themes of any other arc in the series, because with that arc, you've got the theme of, you have the whole time travel thing, but you've got the theme of Goku passing the torch. And one of the recurring themes about Dragon Ball, which is why the end of the Buu Saga bugged me and so many people subconsciously, we're going to get deep right here for a minute, I want to get your thoughts on this, is the fact that at the end of the day, Goku ends up saving the day, because the recurring themes in Dragon Ball from the beginning is you pass the torch. Roshi passed the torch to Tenshinhan in the 22nd Tenkaichi Budokai. Then Tenshinhan beats Goku. And then in the 23rd, the torch is officially passed to Goku. You are the champion. And then Goku passes the torch to Gohan in the Cell arc. In the Buu arc, he passes it again to Goten, and Trunks says, this is your thing. Here's the fusion pose. Do it. And then at the end of the day, Goku wins again. It's almost like they went back on everything,
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I can agree with that, to be honest with you, man. That's probably it's not something that it's one of my favorite parts of the show, the whole Gohan becoming the hero, so to speak. But I like it. That's what I mean. I like that Gohan was given his time to shine, and that's one of Gohan fans' favorite parts of the series. That's why I like the show, because you watch that with your friends that like Gohan, it puts a smile on their face, and even me. As not a Gohan, he's not my favorite character.
But Gohan during the Cell games is so unbelievably badass, but he's also foolish, and that's another theme of the Cell arc, is that these characters are really, really foolish, and they make very bad decisions from the beginning. Because think about this, and I'm going to say this, the detail is for a future video, but think about this. Trunks tells them, Dr. Gero, which is the right way to say his name, by the way, folks, not Gero. I'm sorry Funimation fucked you up. Dr. Gero, right, whatever. He is going to create these machines that are going to fuck the world up. And they could have gone to that guy. They could have stopped him. They could have reasoned with him. They could have killed him. Who cares? They could have prevented these events from happening. But because they wanted to fucking fight, because of the Saiyajin blood, they had to fucking... We'll just train and we'll fight them anyways. They could have prevented the entire arc from happening, bro. And they didn't. They did not do like Sarah Connor and John Connor did in Terminator 2 and stop Judgment Day, even though they really didn't. You know what I'm saying? And then the whole thing about how Vegeta's fighting Cell, and Cell's like, if I had my perfect body, I'd beat you, and Vegeta allows him to get it.
Yeah.
And what's brilliant, bro, and this is where we talk about the brilliance of Akira Toriyama as a writer. During Gohan's fight with Cell, and this is I'm marking out right now, bro. I'm getting excited because of how amazing the storytelling is. Every single trope of the entire saga is brought up again during Gohan versus Cell, including like how Cell, Gohan's whooping Cell's ass, right? Cell bulks up to the Trunks form, and he attacks. And if you remember, in the TV shows, was very well done because the narrator is like, the narrator steps in, and when the narrator talks, bro, and it's not at the end of an episode, usually it means something. So the narrator's like, Cell fear to consume Cell or some shit. He's talking about how Cell has realized he cannot win this fight. So he gets really buff and he tries to attack Gohan, doing exactly what Trunks did. So
Trunks did, same mistake. Yeah.
So you scolded Trunks a few episodes ago, and now you're doing the same fucking shit he's doing. And then again, he's trying, Gohan tells Cell, he's like, before he goes SSJ2, he's like, I have a secret power inside of me, and you don't want it to come out. And Cell, because he has the same genes as they do, he's like, you know what? I do want it to come out, so I'm going to torture you. And then he starts doing the thing where he spits out the Cell Juniors from his cock or whatever that thing is coming out of his back, or his asshole. And
his tail, man. His
tail. Thank you. I'm over here thinking sexual here. What's wrong with me? And then he sends the Cell Juniors, and then he's like, you know what? They're going to torture you. And then the whole thing is to see if Gohan will transform. He steps on number 16's head. Be careful what you wish for, because now you have it. And that whole thing, he made the same mistake that Vegeta and all these guys made before him. And I love the fact that Cell as a character made all those mistakes. And so it just shows that the genes that are inside of him, he really is Goku. He really is Vegeta. He has the same flaws that they do. What a great story, bro.
It is, absolutely. Yeah,
fantastic.
And you've summarized it really well. I couldn't summarize it better myself, so props to you there, man. And it's the same thing, they had the amount of times where three times I counted where they think Cell's defeated, and then bang, he regenerates. Like, well, they don't think, but when Vegeta finally fires his final flash, he's like, yes, I've done it. Trunks is like, yeah, he's done it. He regenerates because he's got Piccolo cells. So he's always using those cells. Goku does his instant transmission Kamehameha.
Oh,
like,
I love that.
God. Yeah, thank God we've done it. We've beaten Cell. And then, the only two there standing not cheering is probably Trunks and Vegeta, because they know, and Krillin as well, because they're like, oh, wait a minute, he regenerates. You know what I mean? And he's that guy that just keeps coming back. You can't kill him, and he just keeps coming back for more, and he gets stronger every time. When Goku sacrifices himself and he comes back, that was an epic moment, man. When he comes back and he's like kind of like a Super Saiyan 2, he's got the lightning around him, super perfect Cell. I don't know if that's the exact correct Japanese translation.
No, that doesn't even have a name. That's just a fan name. Yeah, Cho Kanzen Taiseru. Yeah, that's that. He actually doesn't even have an official name. Yeah, that's just fan stuff, like Mystic Gohan.
I thought it was, but yeah, no, and like I was saying earlier, man, like Gohan's not even my favorite character, but the scene where he powers up to Super Saiyan 2 when it plays the Japanese song,
that's the best scene in the whole series, I think. My opinion.
Well, yeah, it's there. For me, it's Vegeta sacrificing himself, but I'm saying as a Vegeta fan, that moment when you see the bird kind of flying away, and then he snaps. He snaps, and that scream. Doesn't matter which. That's one thing. I think it doesn't matter which dub you watch. That scream that he does, even if it's Stephanie Nodoldi. A lot of people love Stephanie Nodoldi. I don't mind her, but I prefer Colleen Clickenbeard in Kai. I prefer that one, but it doesn't matter which one you like. That the scream is so
Look,
good when
bro,
it sends chills down your spine.
You can't fuck with Nozawa, bro. Nozawa's the absolute best when it comes to that scene. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Nozawa has the best scream in anime history in that scene, I think.
Like I said, but this goes back to our earlier thing, man. It's what you. Everyone's got different favorites, and you can't take someone's favorite away from them because they grew up with those characters.
No, I feel you.
With those voices. So for them, that's always going to be my Stephanie Nodoli used to be my favorite, but now it's Colin Clickenbeard. But for a lot of people, one of my mates who likes Gohan, nothing will ever top the original, like not the original because we all know Japanese is the original, but the original US dub with the Bruce Faulkner music. Nothing's ever going to top that for him. And even though I don't agree with him, I respect that because
bro.
Yeah, you can't change people's nostalgia. That's why it's there. So when they say it, they're being biased. When they say this is the favorite version of the show, you can present them with the facts as to why it's not. But that's their opinion, and they're entitled to be that way. But yeah, it doesn't matter which version of the show you watch for that scene. For me, it just kicks ass. It's a real kick-ass moment. And that Gohan scream, I've seen all the dubs. Gohan, even the Latino and the Chinese. I've seen the Chinese. They say it sends chills down my spine. That scene, man.
The Colleen, by the way, Colleen Clickenbeard is pretty hot, bro. I'm just gonna say that.
Yep, I agree.
Pretty sexy, bro. I'm not even gonna lie.
Yeah, I agree.
No, but yeah. She we're thinking about when it's chicks, bro. My fucking I'm fighting between Dragon Ball and women here, and usually Dragon Ball wins. But sorry, let me get back to form. Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, people will defend it forever, but I think if you, it's gonna sound. I don't want to sound like a dick, bro, but I mean, the Bruce Faulkner score during the Cell arc is just unbearable. I'm not saying it's like that the whole series, even though I think it is, but some people will disagree. It's just I don't understand how somebody can like that during the Cell arc. That's all I'm gonna say about that. Because I love the reason why I love Shinsuke Kikuchi's soundtrack so much is because it's real instruments. He's using violins. He's using trumpets. I've always been a big fan of big orchestral scores. That's why I love Star Wars. And not just Star Wars, all of John Williams' work. Even Harry Potter, which I'm not a huge Harry Potter guy at all, but I like the soundtrack. I love big orchestral scores. So obviously, when I'm watching Dragon Ball in Japanese, dum dum dum, and just all that stuff just really vibrates with me.
Shout out
the techno stuff.
Shout out to Nobu Uematsu, the composer of Final Fantasies up to Final Fantasy X as well.
He is amazing too, brother.
He's amazing. Yeah. That's another orchestral composer, man. But I completely agree with you.
What is the best Nobu Uematsu jingle in your opinion?
Bit of bias because 7's my favorite, but we discussed off air the other night why 7 is my favorite. Not because it was the first one I played, but probably the Final Fantasy VII main theme, which is the theme of that song is life. All that piece of music is life,
the one they play when the camera pans out.
And Ares theme on piano, just Ares theme on piano when she dies. Spoilers, by the way. When Ares dies.
Spoilers for everybody knows about that, bro.
Yeah, but when the piano is when Sephiroth's sword goes through her heart and or through her chest, and then the piano starts.
So my favorite Uematsu score, I don't know, bro, because they're all pretty good. I mean, really. But I love the Terra theme from Final Fantasy VI. Dun, 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 dun. Talk about capturing an atmosphere.
Yeah.
Fuck, bro. So okay. So let me ask you this then. What is your favorite Shinsuke Kikuchi jingle?
I don't know the official names for them because I do know that's the thing. I grew up on the
There's no such thing as an official name, bro. Relax.
Official name. Let's have a good thing.
Just some of your favorites.
That's a tough question though, man. I like the one that goes dun 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 dun.
Oh man, that's everybody's favorite, bro. You just popped me.
Yeah, and it goes dun dun dun.
That's Piccolo's theme.
Yeah, I love that one.
Dude, I can't believe you said that because that's literally everybody's favorite. It's one of my favorites.
That's one of the most common ones played in Kai too, by the way. So when you watch the English, because you said you were going to watch
the recap music in Kai, right?
But it's very commonly played. They play a lot of the. That's what I don't mind. I like Yamamoto's score, but when they reuse the original Z music from the Japanese dub, it just fits. It always fits. with the superior English voice acting. It's like the way the US dub always should have been done. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's so good. But yeah, and now when Kai comes out in the States and in Australia, we're gonna have the composer from Battle of Gods do the Boo Saga music, and that's gonna be epic with the better voice cast. Yeah, but there's not going to be as much of a quality difference with the Boo Saga.
No, it really isn't
because Sean Schimmel and Chris Sabat and the rest of the voice actors were pretty good by the Boo Saga, but I'm still looking forward to it because I like all the filler, not all the filler, but I like some of the filler taken out because, like I said, manga orientated guy, so that's why Kai's my favorite. So yeah, I'm looking forward to watching it from start to finish without a lot of the filler, because yeah, like I said off air the other night, a lot of 167 to 291, like 167 episodes in Kai by the end of the Boo Saga. That's a big difference to 291 episodes. That's a lot of stuff that shouldn't be in there. You know what I mean? There's a lot of good filler, but there's also a lot of really bad filler. So
but also it's also still very long because 167 is still pretty long too.
It is, but compare 167 to 291. I mean, come on, that's a lot of episodes.
Yeah, and it's interesting too because remember when we talked about this also. There's two different Boo Saga Kais. There's the final chapters and the original Japanese one.
Explain the difference to that there. Sorry to cut you off, but explain the difference between the two, because I am aware of the final chapters. It's actually being aired in France and Europe right now. But can you tell me the differences between final chapters and the Kai Boo Saga being aired in Japan?
Well, considering that I haven't seen either one completely, I really can't give you a complete difference, and I really can't give you a reason. I don't know why this is the case. Nobody knows, and they talked about this on the Kanzenshu board and everywhere else about this. All right, so there's two dubs. There's two dubs for the Boo Saga of Kai. There's Dragon Ball Kai, which is airing in Japan right now.
Japan, yep.
And then there's Dragon. Go ahead.
They call it Dragon. For people who don't know, they call it Dragon Ball Kai in Japan because there's no Z. You said, they consider it all Dragon Ball. Like the whole thing is a continuation, which is the way it should be, really. So Dragon Ball Z Kai is just to kind of appeal to the American fans and the other fans over the.
Yeah, and I think that was actually Toei's idea. Well, and that version is actually different because there's another version called Dragon Ball Z Kai: The Final Chapters, and some of the differences are that the edits are actually different in the final chapters, in that from what we understand there's actually more episodes in the final chapter. Now I don't know if it's going to be like 10 more or 2 more, but there's less cuts in the final chapter version, and also the ending themes and some of the music placement is different. So there's literally 2 different versions of Kai for the Boo Saga. I don't understand why.
Yeah, well, I'll be happy whichever one we get down here in Australia, but I'm hoping what they do when they do the US dub is they just take the Japanese version and then they put the US voice cast over the top of the music, because there's nothing wrong with Kai Boo Saga in Japan. It's fine. So they should just leave it that way and put the American voice actors in.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to fuck with the music anymore. I think that was much more... See, what people don't understand, and I know a lot of people listening to this are very young, and I'm pretty sure you know this because you're.
I have a good knowledge of the show. I was watching it around the same time you were. So.
Well, not so much the show, but more so like what I was getting to is more so the culture is that the reason why the music was changed back then was because a lot of it had to do with the influence from Saban, even though the music was still changed in the Funimation. So the original people that were in charge of dubbing Dragon Ball Z for Funimation are not the people who are in charge now. Chris Sabat has a lot more stroke now. He has moved up in that company significantly compared to back then when he was just some no-name guy. And now he's kind of taken over as what's his official role? He's like the voice director, right?
Executive. I think he's like the executive line producer or voice line producer or something. But yeah, he's in charge. He's in charge of the dubbing basically.
And by the way, that's not just Dragon Ball. That's every anime that they get, right? Because he does voices for a bunch of Fruits Baskets and Yu Yu Hakusho. Well, anyways, so they had this mentality back then, which I really don't like. I've never liked this mentality, where they felt like kids all had ADD. and I'm actually very insulted by this, to be honest with you. They felt like children all had ADD. They could not stand for silence. They could not stand for orchestral music. So we have to give them rock music, which is why the Lord Slug movie and the Bardock movie has Disturbed and Deftones and all this bullshit that doesn't fit with it, because they felt like children back then couldn't handle a Japanese score. They had to have, and that's not just Dragon Ball. It's nothing just Dragon Ball. There were other anime movies, such a 90s thing, where they would put in real rock songs that would not fit. It's a 90s thing, and now we live in a different era, more multicultural, internet, all that shit. There's no need to do that. There's no need to pay Bruce Falconer to do this when there's already a score. But that's kind of what it was, and that's why the edits happened and all that, because, a lot of it is Saban. They couldn't take that kind of music. They basically thought that kids were just a bunch of, they had short attention spans, and I'm sure some of them do, but there are other shows like the X-Men cartoon, Batman the Animated Series, that were much, much, much more mature, and kids love those fucking shows, bro. Gargoyles. People who are grown-ups now still love those shows back then, because guess what? Kids are not stupid.
Yeah, that's it. And let me just say, for anyone who watched it, anyone who loves and still loves the Bruce Faulkner soundtrack, that's your choice, and I respect that. But if you actually challenge yourself to sit down, and you'll find it's not a challenge. Watch the Japanese voice cast with Japanese music, or the English US dub with Japanese music, and listen to the improvements in the actual show. When it's supposed to be silence, there's silence. When someone uses an attack, you can hear all the special effects of the attack. Man, when they punch and they break the sound barrier when they punch, you can hear all that so much better without Bruce Faulkner's soundtrack.
Especially in Kai with the enhancements of sound.
Yeah, and Chris Sabat and Sean Schemmel, I can provide, if anyone wants to private message me to get this interview, I have interviews of Chris Sabat and Sean Schemmel speaking about Kai and saying back in the day when they were making the original Z, they didn't agree with some of the production choices, and I can almost guarantee you that one of those production choices was the choice of music. I guarantee you.
Yeah. We're gonna wrap this up now, but what I was gonna say was one other story. Like I've said before in other videos, I am a Latino. English is actually my second language, and just real quick about how, and I gotta share this with you because it's just very important to me. It's weird, but.
Yep.
So I started bootlegging tapes. So all I had was the Japanese and the English version, and I would watch the Japanese version if I could, but I watched the English one for the episodes that I never had, which, whatever, fill-in episodes. But I'll never forget one day. So my parents, and I don't know how it is down there. I really don't. This is more of a cultural thing. Anybody listening to this who's Latino will understand. Latin people, older people, they love novellas. They love soap operas. Soap operas are huge and and that's why Dragon Ball is huge, because it is a soap opera. Let's be real.
Yeah.
So my parents are watching a soap opera. This is when this is like in 2000. And I remember I was walking to the kitchen to get myself probably a Pepsi or something. And I'm walking back and I see Raditz on my parents' television. And I freeze, and I'm like, what is this? Why am I seeing Raditz on Telemundo? They were watching Telemundo. And it said, Dragon Ball Z, blah, blah, blah. Like, it was Dragon Ball Z. I'm translating it for you. Airs Monday through Friday at, I think it was 7 a.m. I was like, wow, in Spanish? Cool. I'll tape one and see if I like it. Now, I thought that what I was going to be taping was they took the English dub and dubbed over the English dub. So I thought it was going to be Rock the Dragon, but just like, and then when the episode started, it was going to be, you know what I'm talking about? Like, did that make sense?
Yep.
So I hit the record button actually, I was recording it, but I actually decided to watch it the first episode, right? So I'm sitting there, Dragon Ball Z is next. Okay, cool, whatever. And I see the ball in the middle of the screen, and I start hearing Chala, head Chala in Spanish. I could not tell you. This is up there with like the first time I got pussy, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man, absolutely.
I'm like, just frozen. And then it's episode 18, the one where Gohan turns into an ape the second time. It's filler. And then Piccolo has to blow up Goku's ship. And I'm watching this for the first time ever, completely uncut in Spanish, and I'm like, oh my God. So I got so excited. I taped it, and I went to my friend's house who lived across the street, who was Argentinian, also Spanish.
Yep.
Knocked on his door at 9 a.m., bro. What is it? I got, bro, open. This was like there was a fire in my house, bro. I'm knocking on this guy's door like an emergency. And I put the tape in his VCR, and he goes, oh, Dragon Ball Z. And he was a fan, too. And then when he realized what was going on, bro, when he realized it was in Spanish, and we got done watching the episode, and he goes, that was awesome. And I was like, yeah, I know. And you gotta understand, bro, that was a big thing for me because you couldn't. Now it's like, okay, now I can watch the show uncut with the original music in my native language, bro. That's a huge thing. And then they fucked up because they actually preempted it a bunch of times, and I never got the whole series, but I got the entire Frieza saga and the entire Frieza saga and the entire Saiyan saga in Japanese, or in Spanish, excuse me. And the beautiful thing about the Spanish version, bro, is Saiyajin. They actually say, like, for Namek, they don't say Namek. They say Nameku Seijin. Like, they use the full Japanese. And so it was just it was just wacky, bro. I'm just telling you because, like, it was just a huge thing. So people who are Latin American fans, they can relate, I suppose.
Absolutely. No, I always, one of my least favorite things. That's a great story, man. Thanks for sharing that.
Okay.
I appreciate you sharing me that.
No, I'm sorry. I thought it was boring. I really did.
No, I appreciate you telling me that, man. It's cool. But one of my favorite things, because you raised that point about the new dubs, so to speak, for the English, is that they stopped calling them Nemeks. You know how that used to piss me off. It's like, they're not Nemeks. At least call them Namekians. You know what I mean? Namek is the planet. Planet Namek.
They used to call them Nameks? I never knew that. I never picked up on that before.
In the Z English dub, they used to call them Nemeks. They're Namekians.
I never knew that. No, you're right. They are Namekians, but I never knew that.
Yeah, no. So the amount of times, man, I could probably link you so many episodes where they've gone, filthy or disgraceful Namek. Like, even Frieza does it. He goes, filthy Namek, and it's like, it's Namekian, you stupid idiot. So when they did the Kai dub, they fixed all that up. So that's a shout out to them there doing that, because that's awesome.
I never knew they called them Namek. I'm sure I knew, but I forgot. That's probably what it was.
Yeah.
So, all right, well, let's wrap this thing up then. Thank you, Super Jayain, for joining me. This is going to be cut up into a couple parts, I'm sure.
That's all right. I'll just give a shout out to 2 people for subscribing. I hope I pronounced their names to my channel. I appreciate it. Not to take the thunder away from your fantastic channel. On my channel, I've just had Dern Rajan. I can't even say his name. I'm so sorry, man.
Oh, that's okay. We got people from all over the world here.
Dern Rajangenki. I probably said that wrong. I apologize. And then I've got Josiah Johnson. So 2 new subscribers. I appreciate it. The more subscribers I get, I will make more videos, because that's what I said. If people want to see more of my collection, just ask and I'll show it.
Well, by the time this airs, you'll probably have more than just, you'll have more people coming in, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So I'm sure people are going to subscribe because of the awesome collection. So at least there's
Yeah. So I will happily make more videos if people want to see more stuff and hear my thoughts on. Maybe I'll just stick to doing videos with you for that, because I like our discussions. Yeah, I think I'll stick to doing topic discussions with yourself. So, but thanks for having me. It's been a good video.
All right then. Well, we'll see y'all next time, and I will catch you down the road.